You know what a mitochondria is? Anybody know? Yeah, some of you might know. Mitochondria are little bubbles that are in your cells. And all that oxygen you're breathing in, oxygen is an interesting molecule. Every other molecule that you take in your body does a multiplicity of things. So if you take in a given protein, or if you take in a given vitamin or mineral, there may be 25, 30, 50 different things that thing will do. Oxygen only does one thing, period. It finds its way down into one of these guys. See, these are in your cells. It finds its way down there. Now, how does it get there? Well, you've got to breathe. It gets through your lung, right? So you've got to have some lungs. But what Dr. Edwards was talking about in the talk right before this is really, really pertinent. Because he's talking a lot about circulation, right? How does the oxygen get to those mitochondria? Through the circulation. That's how it gets there. And if that circulation is not so good, as he was pointing out, what's not going to get into the mitochondria? Okay, so that's a big part of the puzzle. But ultimately, that oxygen that I'm breathing in, it's got one destination. That's one of those mitochondria that are in my body. I have a whole bunch of them. It's got to find into one of the mitochondria, and in there, the magic happens. In there, that oxygen, which is the highest energy molecule in the universe, gets converted to the lowest energy molecule in the universe, called water. And I think that's fascinating. Just that simple little statement. Really interesting. And in the process of that happening, what gets released? Energy. We got energy. Now we can harness that energy. That energy comes into two forms. One is heat. 60% of the energy that your oxygen make is heat, is manifested as heat. And the other 40% you harness and you utilize. It would make your flashlight glow. If you're not doing this very well, what's going to happen to you? You are going to get cold. You're going to get cold. 60% of your oxygen, when it's utilized in here, gets converted to heat, so you're going to get cold. So what happens to old folks? Right. And what happens to young folks sometimes? They get cold. What problem do they have? Same thing. As you'll see, this is not exclusively the domain of old folks. This happens to young folks. It's ridiculous how much it happens at an early age. I won't go into any more of it than that, but here's some other interesting little facts about mitochondria. Metabolically active cells, that's like your liver, your muscles, your brain, most cells, contain thousands of mitochondria. Basically, the mitochondria in a cell makes up almost half the entire cell. It just tells you how valuable this process of energy making is. Half the cell is devoted to making energy. That's how important that is. There's said to be 10 million billion, it's almost to the national debt, mitochondria in an adult human. About roughly 10% of my entire weight is mitochondria. Pretty fascinating stuff. Mitochondria are not static. They don't just sit there. You know, we show the little picture, and there it is, but they're doing stuff. They're not just sitting there. There's nothing sitting anywhere in our bodies. Something's always happening. Something's always happening. According to how you live and the balance of your hormones, they are in constant movement within the cells. They're moving around, they're constantly changing. They change in size, they change in number, they reproduce. They have their own little reproductive lives. Did you know that? Now, each one of your cells, they divide and reproduce. Inside your cells, the mitochondria are dividing and reproducing.